You do this. No, kidding. You, I'm very lucky. When I was at Syracuse, all of my teachers were from the Actors Studio. And I knew I had whatever personality, and I knew I could do 5, 6, 7, 8 in a musical and be entertaining and energetic. What I didn't know was how to dig into a role, was how to take my time and let the character build and take it from a very deep, truthful point of view from within myself. And I was taught through a series of exercises and trial and error of what worked for me and what didn't. A really wonderful acting technique. And I teach our students here, our singing actors here, I teach them what I learned of the Strasberg method from the Actors Studio in New York. From Arthur Storch, Edward Greer, Carlton Collier, Beverly Bloom, Victor Lazaro. I mean, I had great teachers. I was so very, very lucky. Dan Krempel, who was our Shakespeare expert at that point at Syracuse. And they taught me. I was so overflowing by the time I left that school that when I went to New York, it was pretty clear, I think, to most people who knew me, I wasn't going to be an actor. I was going to end up a director, because I'd get into rehearsal periods and I'd be watching my fellow actors, and they just knew my eyes were half open. I'd be going, oh, no, it's not, you're not digging deep enough. So this is what I try to get out of my students. And because I danced, because I've always been almost a hyperactive adult, I'm very physical in my approach to opera performance and to my approach to acting, period. And we start, interestingly, by relaxing. You mentioned the word relax earlier, and we start by a very serious relaxation, and we do what we call sense memory exercises, where they recreate in their brains, with their eyes closed and totally relaxed, something as simple as smelling burnt toast and how their face reacted and how their body reacted to it. And they have to totally recreate that. And they slowly bring up their heads and they pick a spot, hopefully about 30 feet away in the practice room, in the rehearsal room, and they send it out there and they just keep it going and they keep it regurgitating, which you have to do in an opera aria very often. You have to keep the same emotion going for 30 seconds, a minute, 2 minutes. And that's where it starts, something that simple. And ultimately you get into what we call an emotional recall or an effective memory, where you take all of your senses and you recreate a really traumatic or ecstatic event in your life, just a split second. And you really go there. You allow your emotions to go there and to be open and vulnerable in front of your peers. And that's very hard. It's very, very hard. It was traumatic for me to do that when I was at Syracuse. And it took me 2 really long, painful years in Mr. Greer, Mr. Kazan. But I got it finally. And it was through a performance that it happened. And that's hard. But they're getting it, the kids in class. It slowly comes together. And that's where it all begins. And then you apply that to your performing. And it's not that you have to use that for every moment of your acting, because you'll never get through the first page of a role or a character if you do that. But when it gets tough, when it's something that you just haven't experienced in your life and your instincts let you down, then you go home or you talk to your director or you call your favorite acting teacher and say, advise me, walk me through an emotional recall on this. And that's what you do. And it's just slowly, it's making a cake. It's ingredient on ingredient on ingredient, stir it up, add your liquid, bake it. And the last thing you do is the performance, and that's the cherry on top. I want them to really be putting out all through rehearsal, but I never force their emotions. I never say, you've got to get there by the end of this rehearsal. It has to be a build. It has to be a build. Because particularly in opera, there's so much else going on. I mean, you're counting your tuchus off. If it's contemporary music, particularly if it's atonal, even if it's a bel canto piece like the Bellini, it's so intricate, and it's all about shaping and phrasing, and it's so hard. And then add to that a contemporary emotional mentality, and it's twice as difficult, or 3 or 4 times more difficult. And it's kind of the difference between someone in a pit playing an instrument. You're emoting, you're phrasing, your music's right there. You can stop. You can breathe and relax. A singer in a scene, particularly in Capulets and Montagues, the Romeo, it's relentless on him and it's angry, most of it. His tragic flaw as a character is his his anger. He can't control his anger, his lashing out. Beyond that, he's got this stratospherically high music. It's a mezzo-soprano role. A woman plays Romeo. And it's thrilling to watch these two young women who are doing it start to slowly put it all together. And we did the tomb scene 2 nights ago where he comes and finds Juliet and thinks she's dead. And I said, okay, right now she's in a body bag and we're unzipping the zipper. And that was all it took. And one of them, the one who was rehearsing it at the time, she started to sing this beautiful aria where she says, get up, stand up. I'm here for you. I'm calling you. Get up, come to me. And the whole time he's backing away from her, knowing she's dead. And this young woman, I mean, it was red eyes and the tears, and yet she kept swallowing and breathing and singing. And it was a thrilling event for all of us. We were all really profoundly moved. And the poor young lady playing Juliet also was lying there supposedly, under an anesthetic essentially, and she's, got the tears. It was really a wonderful moment. And it's just a slow learning your craft, and you never stop learning it. You never stop growing, because uniquely for singers, more than any other art form short of dance, which is a very short-lived career, your body changes every 5 years. Consequently, this changes every 5 years, and it usually gets darker and richer and lower. And I think for sopranos and tenors particularly, as your voice starts to drop a teeny bit, not a lot, but a teeny bit, and those high C's, D's, and E's for the sopranos particularly are not there all the time, it's terrifying. And you have to breathe and relax and accept what's happening and rework it all. Leontine Price, every couple of years, used to take about 6 months off and rework her voice, disappear, and come back better than ever, and which is why she sang certainly operatically publicly until she was 65, and fresh and wonderful and brilliant, because she accepted that and reworked it and went on. It's a bloody tough career, and there's nothing more thrilling than when you're out there screaming educatedly at 2,000 to 3,000 people, and you just know they're with you, and they're going, and that the emotion of what you're doing here and from here is doing this, and you absolutely knock them through the back wall. There's nothing like it. I wish I was an opera singer. I got to be honest. I really do sometimes.